All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tuxedo T-Shirt Madden 25 Connected Franchise Fantasy Draft Buffalo Bills, a YouTube series. What up? Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to start off today. First of all, we are relishing our big win over the Baltimore Ravens, 17-3. This is episode number 18. We're going to kick things off here by quickly checking out as requested by somebody in the comments with some season statistics. I would like to just quickly take a look at our season stats for our team. Now that we have played a quarter of the way through the season, we can project and take a look at what maybe our offensive and defensive stars might have in terms of numbers by seasons. And so far, Aaron Rodgers, I'm not tremendously happy with his yardage total, just averaging about 130-ish yards through the air per game. However, his 6 touchdowns to 1 interceptions ratio is phenomenal. His completion percentage is off the charts at just a smidge under 80%, and he's just been sacked 3 times in 4 games. He's with all good for a rating of just a smidge under 128, which is phenomenal. So if we could get his yardage up a bit, that'd be great. But we're running things down on the ground so well that may or may not happen. On the rushing page, Ronnie Brown is leading the way with 50 carries, 260 yards, 5.2 yard per carry average. What? Undoubtedly, thanks to our excellent offensive line play we've been getting so far. Brown has 5 touchdowns. Our second leading rusher is Brandon Jacobs, who's got 66 yards off 15 carries, a very impressive 4.4 yard per carry average, given that he's mostly been hammering away in short yardage. And lastly, Darren Sproles, for our 3-headed monster we have at running back, has 7 carries for 48 yards, good for a smidge under 7 yards per carry. Aaron Rodgers also rushed for a touchdown this last episode, in case you missed it in episode number 17. Leading the way in terms of yardage for our receivers is actually, surprisingly, our 3rd receiver in. That is Doug Baldwin, who is sitting with 159 yards off 9 carries. Very close after him is Heath Miller with 153 yards. He leads the team in receptions with 13. Miller also leads the team in touchdown receptions. He's got 3. Baldwin, meanwhile, has got 1. Our other receivers with 1 touchdown so far are Ronnie Brown and Mario Manningham. Our biggest disappointment so far, I would say, on the team has been Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun has just 5 catches for 48 yards. He has yet to score a touchdown. And I'm taking a look here. We cannot check out how many drops each of our receivers has, which is disappointing. But with that said, it would be nice to get him going just a little bit more. Though the play of Baldwin and Miller so far has been surprisingly good. Jamarcus Sanford, meanwhile, is leading the way on defense for our team with 17 tackles through 4 games. Bostic is right behind him with 15, though he has a very impressive 3 tackles for a loss. The only player with that same total is Rob Ninkovich. Behind Ninkovich is Irvin with 2, and then Durant and Whirls with 1 apiece. We have just 2 sacks through the season so far, with Ninkovich and Whirls each getting 1. We'd like to see that go up, especially from the likes of Bruce Irvin and Vince Wilfork, who have a knack for getting after the quarterback. Meanwhile, on the interception front, we've had 1 so far from each of Justin Durant, Vontae Davis, and Dre Kirkpatrick. So far, the defensive numbers don't look stifling, but given how few points we've been giving up, it's something to be proud of so far in my book anyways. We also have 4 for 4 kicking from Greg Zuerlein, and just 1 punt so far from Sam Martin. That's an excellent number. If we can go through the whole season on pace for just 4 punts through the entire year, that would be that would definitely be something special. So let's go back to our actions page. Today we are upgrading our wide receivers and tight ends. In case you have not been keeping up with our even-numbered videos, we are breaking our team up into sections because we don't want to spend all day upgrading players at the same time. We're just picking kind of one grouping of the team. We kind of have 6 groupings right now. The first one being QBs, the second one being running backs and fullbacks, our third one being receivers and tight ends, fourth being offensive linemen, fifth being our front seven folks, and our last grouping being the defensive backs. So we're going to start today with Doug Baldwin. For Baldwin, I'd like to see him get a catching upgrade, because as good as Baldwin has been, he has put a couple balls on the ground, particularly in this last game. So if we can catch him up in that area, you see what I did there. If we can catch him up in this area, that would be an excellent addition to his skill set. Let's get him up to 86 overall. A very significant jump up from 80, which is wonderful. Aside from that, I would like to see his catch in traffic rating get upgraded just a little bit. If we could even just get that to 79, that would be wonderful. And then maybe look at his awareness just a little bit, given that Baldwin is still a younger receiver. He was undrafted just a few years ago and doesn't have a whole ton of experience, so we get him some awareness, and we're off. Very good start for Doug Baldwin, especially feeding him some catching points is essential. Mario Manningham is your kind of prototypical prototypical possession receiver. He's not the fastest guy, and he's approaching the wrong side of 30. He's already 28 years old, so we are going to look at feeding him some catching as well. If he could just be the type of guy who is just, has glue for hands, essentially, that would benefit us a lot. So we've got him up to 87. Meanwhile, I would love to upgrade his run blocking ability. Run blocking is, in my opinion, the most underappreciated skill that a receiver can have. Receivers run block at least as often as they bring down passes, which is something that I really think is underappreciated. If you have excellent blocking receivers or extremely poor blocking receivers, sometimes that can really have a strong effect on your run game, regardless of what your offensive line or your running back situation actually looks like. Let's take a quick look here at Matthew Slater. Matthew Slater is almost never getting into games. I don't think he's gotten to a game since the preseason, and in all honesty, he didn't look phenomenal in the preseason. I think we're best off just feeding him catching points this whole way through. I know that it seems a little bit too cut and dry to just say, oh, let's upgrade all of our receivers' catching ability. But when you're playing this game on an advanced setting, it can be very frustrating to see balls that should be caught land on the ground. I know it happens in real life, but it happens in this game too. Also, as a bit of an update from episode number 17, I did verify that we are still on all-pro mode. I suspected, because it seemed as though the kicking meter was going so fast that for some reason we might be looking at suddenly playing on all Madden. That was just my spidey sense tingling at an inappropriate time. I think it might be because I've been playing online so much recently, where the stock setting is also all pro, but with lag, sometimes those kicking meters do not go as fast. So I think that's just where that came from. I apologize for my in-video questioning of what was going on. So we got Dominic Hicks in here. Let's catch him up. You see what I did there again, with some catching upgrades for him as well. It would be nice to give him some run block. His run blocking is actually already not awful for a wide receiver. And as much as it might seem to start upgrading a skill that is as poor as, 49 overall, I think there is a lot of value in it. The reason being, excuse me, that the defensive backs that wide receivers cover oftentimes, are very poor at shedding blocks. They're not people who can shed blocks easily a lot, which makes it essential for, even if your wide receivers don't block super well, even if they can just block a little bit better, they gain an advantage, because as poor as they are at blocking, cornerbacks, it's not really in their skill set to get behind people and to break through and get off tackles, or get off blocks rather. So again, even if the wide receivers, kind of suck with it as part of their skill set, it doesn't have to be very good, is my point. For Deshaun Jackson, let's give him a catching upgrade and a little bit of a run block upgrade as well. I don't think Deshaun Jackson will ever be a great blocker, given that he is a prototypical speed receiver. But it's nice to give him a little bit of an upgrade there. And I think we've seen just about everybody at that point. So let's check out our tight ends. Jeff Cumberland has only gotten into the game once this year. He's been getting in every game. He's only received one pass so far this year. We're going to look at just strictly upgrading his blocking ability. As I've explained in previous videos, what I look for in a second tight end, if the second tight end can catch and if the second tight end can run, that is an asset, but that is not their primary function, at least in my offense. What I look for is a second tight end who can be an excellent blocker, because especially on goal line situations, your second tight end coming in to serve as a blocker means exactly that. They're coming in to serve as a blocker. Sure, yes, they can release behind the defense and see if they can catch a pass, but that is not their primary function. Their primary function is to prevent defenders from getting into your backfield and breaking up a play. So if they can block well, that is essential. Passing and receiving ability comes second, whereas with your primary tight end, at least again in my system, the way that I like to run things with my team, the ability to receive the ball sometimes does supersede the ability to block. I think Heath Miller is actually a pretty decent blocker, which comes from his veteran presence, being a 30-year-old man and somebody who has been in this league for a long time. For example, his run blocking ability is already 69 overall, which is pretty good for your average tight end. Jeff Cumberland's a blocking specialist, and his blocking ability was not much higher. Heath Miller already has excellent hands, so if we could even just look, maybe his impact blocker rating would be a nice one to take a look at. So with that done, we have upgraded our wide receivers and our tight ends. Next episode that we are upgrading people, that'll be episode number 20. Jesus, we haven't been at it for that long. We already got 20 episodes coming up. That's something to be proud of, you guys. That's awesome. We're making it down in this series. We're getting things going. That's great. Oh, look at this. I haven't actually checked out. We're going to quickly scout some players here. The number 1 and 2 players to go overall are quarterbacks. Obviously, we're not looking for a quarterback, and we won't be drafting first or second overall, but it's fascinating to see those two guys set to go so fast. Last week, if you watched our episode, that's not very good. Last week, our episode sorry, I shouldn't say last week. Monday's episode, our days are a little bit off. And this is actually just an aside. This week we had some scheduling problems. We got Monday's video out on time perfectly, but we were late with Tuesday and Wednesday's videos. Please, including this one. So please, if there is anything going on with my channel that you're not sure about, please check out my Twitter page. I'm not saying that because I'm one of these people who wants to have 1,000 Twitter followers or 1 million Twitter followers or whatever. It's irrelevant to me how many followers I have. I just use my Twitter account to keep in touch with you guys. So even if you don't have a Twitter account, or if you have one and you don't care to follow me, that's fine. But if you go to any of my videos, I have a link in the description to every one of my Madden 25 videos, to my Twitter page, which you can check out, because if I do have a video that's coming out late, or if I do have an announcement about my channel or anything like that, I will post that information there. And you can feel free, if you do have a Twitter account, to send me a question on there. That's the best place to reach me. But anyways, as I was saying, this is episode number 18. With episode number 16, we were scouting that defensive tackle who is slated to go 29th overall in this upcoming draft. We saved up some points to scout him out, and he's only got a C in terms of the overall prospect abilities that he's got. So we'll have to check that out next week. There's another defensive tackle who's slated to go early on. But anyways, now it's time for some practice. We're talking about practice. Let's check out Let's go tied up. You're tied up at the start of the fourth quarter. If you're a coach, your players earn 2,000 experience points for a win and 1,000 experience points for a loss. Let's do this. We're all tied up at the beginning of the fourth quarter in this practice scenario. We'll talk about practice. and we'll go on from here as soon as things get loaded up. In these practice situations, and this is something that I need to remember to do, is set Ronnie Brown as our permanent first running back, because so far I have been doing that on the depth chart manually in every single game. Sproles will be our first running back in practice, but we'll roll with that. We'll let him do his thing. We'll call some plays outside the tackles. If we do need to bring in Ronnie Brown, we can just do it because we are only playing for a quarter via substitution on the sub page. Also, speaking of subs, I want to thank all of you folks who have subscribed to my channel. Again, this channel, at least at the time of this video being released, is still less than a month old, and I have seen so much growth already in my viewership, and I've been getting so many kind words from people about how much, oh wow, oh I love the channel, or wow, I can't believe you're essentially brand new to this, you're already so good and you're so fun to listen to. And I appreciate all the kind words and folks who have subscribed to my channel. It helps me I wouldn't say stay motivated to record videos, because I love recording videos. I would do this and play Madden this exact same way with or without an audience, but having an audience makes it all the more fun. So I appreciate you guys getting involved and giving me something to share. Anyways, in game here we have excuse me, I'm coming down with a little bit of a throat thing, so I apologize if I have to clear my throat through this video. We stuffed the run on down number 2, and on third down our opposing quarterback just kind of threw the ball away. Not quite sure why. There wasn't a lot of pressure on him, but we're going to get the ball back here with Jacoby Ford. There should be some room to return. He catches it just behind his own 40, and he gets the ball up past center field. Jacoby Ford continues being a very effective returner for our Buffalo Bills, using his speed and his moves to make good things happen. Now we have 4 minutes and 13 seconds left on this clock, and we do have a timeout just in case we need it. But what I would like to do is potentially score in such a fashion that sees us leave most of that time left on the clock. Sproles, though, gets up for a nice 15-yard gain on that screen play. I managed to just get through a couple of those blockers in a very nice little way that allowed me to just kind of squirt up between two potential tacklers, and we got about an extra 5 yards because of it. Very nice from Sproles. Here we go, Sproles. I should have brought that one outside, but it's all good. We're going to be able to bring this clock down to about 3 minutes. We're not quite in guaranteed field goal range yet, but I would say that we are at least in Greg the Leg Zuerlein field goal range. Greg the Leg, after all, does have one of the most powerful legs in the entire NFL. So we'll bring the clock down. We got 10 seconds left on the play clock right now. We'll bring it down just a little bit more. It would be about a 50-yard field goal from here. So in Greg's range, but it's certainly not a guaranteed thing. So let's see if we can bring things down a little more. Ronnie Brown, meanwhile, goes up, and he makes a guy miss, and he gets the first down. That's what Ronnie Brown does so well. To me, Ronnie Brown does an excellent job of serving as a speed back and a power back. He's not the fastest or most agile running back in the league, but he does do a good job still of being fast enough to make some nice moves. And on top of that, he does an excellent job, I think, of also serving as a power back. He can truck guys, especially smaller guys, DBs and safeties, all that. Very nice. Meanwhile, Darren Sproles up the middle for a few yards. That'll get us to the 2-minute warning up at the 22-yard line of our opponents, which means that we are in very good shape right now. We're at the 2-minute warning, and our playbook is wide open. I would like to keep the ball on the ground. We could put it in the air as long as we're very confident that the ball won't land incomplete and stop the clock. But it's all good. Darren Sproles, a nice run. Michael Roos leading the way at our left tackle there with a nice block. And our opponent is not calling a timeout here, which I find interesting. And as we have some time anyways, we're going to run it up the gut here. Let's quickly put Ronnie Brown in. He's going to run an ISO for us. We only need 4 yards for the first down, and we do have 2 or potentially 3, depending on the overall distance left, downs to do it. We're going to let this clock run down here for another 10 seconds, snap it with 1 second left on the clock. Also, another thing that I should specify is you may have noticed in the last couple episodes of this series that we do not have a lot of the audio from the in-game play in the actual YouTube video. All of the gameplay audio is in, but when we are not in gameplay, like when we are in a menu or when we are doing something that is not just us playing football on the field, so when we're upgrading players or when we're showing a depth chart or whatever else, we are not playing that audio. The reason for that is YouTube has been giving me headaches about copyright infringement with that audio. Now, I don't want to speak ill of YouTube. It's a wonderful company with a wonderful product that's allowing me to share my videos, but there have been some delays in them getting back to me about these copyright disputes, and so for that reason, I am not including the audio from any pages or any of the Madden audio that comes up when you go on to basically go away from football gameplay. I love the music. It's awesome, and I think it adds a lot to the videos, but I just can't show it anymore. I can't include it in my videos because it's just too much of a headache at this point, and there have been a lot of delays. So long story short, until something at least gets figured out, there won't be any menu audio for these videos. It will just be my overdub until the gameplay begins, at which point we will have full audio. So while the games are actually being played in practice or in the form of actual regular season games, there will be audio, but aside from that, I just can't do it. So anyways, getting back to the game here, we have 45 seconds left. We have run the ball down our opponent's throats, just filling out the rest of our offensive play selection with some high percentage passes in the form of screens and crossing routes and whatever else to our outlet running backs, which has set us up very well to run out this clock. Our opponents have used all their timeouts. Whether we score a touchdown here or not, which we will with Sproles, we have put ourselves in an excellent position to take this practice. We will give the ball back to our opponents with 18 seconds left on the clock after Greg the Leg kicks this convert up and through, which he does. Now, if our opponents elect to return this punt, or this kickoff rather, they would take probably close to 4 seconds off the clock. If they don't, they will of course take no seconds off the clock. Let's see what they do. And number 80 elects not to take it out of the end zone. So we will have to face this opposing offense a minimum of one play, depending on how fast they can, or what happens with the play and how fast they can get off the subsequent play or plays. The offense does not have any timeouts, so it is in their best interest to either catch a pass, a long bomb, and take it into the end zone, or to make a completion and immediately have the receiver try to get out of bounds. That first play did not go well, according to the offense. They looked like the ball was tipped by the rusher. That would have been Bruce Irvin, I believe. If not, it would have been Rob Ninkovich to knock away that pass as it was being thrown. And here comes and Jamarcus Sanford makes the pick. There was the Hail Mary. Jamarcus Sanford makes the pick, which means that this game is over. We can just kneel down, and that'll bring practice to a close. All right, guys, so we earn another 2,000 points for all of our players' development, something that is essential to our success as a franchise, and we continue on next episode on Thursday, episode number 19, which will see us play our 5th regular season game, and the quest to keep the Buffalo Bills undefeated will continue. Thanks, guys. Remember, I'm Tuxedo T-shirt, and I'm out.